Welcome to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. Welcome to this conversation. This conversation is really designed to help you, people out there who are family warriors, who, we claim to have family values, is to help you live up those values before we leave this world. There's so much for us to do. We've got a lot to cover today. I really welcome you, and I congratulate you for digging in and not sticking your head in the sand. If you claim to be somebody who puts your family above everything else, this is the place for you to be. If you've been with me on some of these first episodes, you've gotten the benefit of what it's like to learn from someone who's not completely just one of those typical attorneys. I really try not to be. And I'd love to hear more about your stories, your struggles out there. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, and leave us a message and let us know, what are your questions? What are your problems? What are your challenges? Today, what we're digging in on is just something it's just driving me and my wife crazy. We have 4 kids, 13 and under, and we're just trying to take a vacation. But, pandemic, it is what it is, and nobody's taking vacations, or apparently, I don't know. We literally, and so the title of today is, you may not be able to travel, but now's the time to plan for it. We know we're trying to make plans for the future. And so that's what we're going to dig in on today. There's a little bit of a twist on this. I want to give you guys a chance to win a little something out of this. We've got our Facebook page up. And if you jump on there, give us a comment about what you're planning to do, then we're going to pull a random name out of the hat there, and someone's going to win a gift card to make your trip just a little bit nicer. I want some inspiration. Where are you going for your trip? We can't, it's harder right now to travel than it has been forever. I've never experienced this before. And so it's funny, USA Today wrote an article about what people are actually doing to try to recreate some kind of travel experience. And, we're like ordering more exotic foods than we ever would have, getting takeout, where people are like binge watching travel shows about some destination they'd love to go to. And they're trying to like recreate this experience that you can't recreate it. That I call that a vacation. That's not a vacation. We've got to find we just got to find a different way to do this. My wife and I, this summer, we've tried and failed 4 different times to get our kids out of town. We tried to get a trip booked, tried to get a trip down to Rocky Point, just a long weekend runaway, get down to the beach, failed. We tried to get another trip booked and go back to Florida to visit family in Florida, failed. We thought, let's run up to Lake Tahoe. It's beautiful up there. It's like a totally different world. Fail. Hawaii, we thought, you know what? We're going to book it way out, way out. By that time, people will definitely be traveling. It'll be open, no restrictions. And we booked it like months and months and months out. Fail. We had to cancel it just last week. I'm just like going crazy. We can't, and it sucks for my kids, right? Because we're trying to promise them, hey guys, okay, we're going to do this. Oh no. We're going to do this. Oh no. And it just keeps falling completely flat. It's so frustrating to have these plans fall apart. I mean, my kids, they've been on lockdown. They've been on shutdown, no school, no, very limited friends. And it's just super, it's mentally tough. I feel it. I feel it for them. We want to go do something. So yeah, I guess not yet. But we can't stop living life, right? This is what kind of hit me for this topic is we want to do stuff. We want to make plans, and we do, even when we do make plans, they can completely fail. And failed plans are destructive, right? They hurt. There's this expectation, and then it falls flat. that's what hit me about all of these little mini plans that we're trying to make, is that we watch in our firm, Keystone Law Firm. All we do is we help people administer their estates, or set up and administer. And we watch some families' plans completely fail, and just, I mean, fail miserably. You don't want that for your family. If you are a family warrior, if you're somebody who would like bust through walls for your kids, for your spouse, for your loved ones, you would not stick your head in the sand and say, I can do this later. I'm not going to die tomorrow, or they'll figure it out. You wouldn't say those things. Those comments are things of people who just have stuck their heads in the sand. You would do everything in your power to make sure these plans don't fail, because the destruction that these families left behind, that they feel, it's devastating. It is absolutely devastating. If you're either in the middle of a nightmare, and your family is, it's just being torn apart, or even if it's not a nightmare, but it's just not going smooth. It's you guys are actually digging through that right now. Give us a call. We'd love to answer your questions, point you in some direction of some free resources, even give you a copy of my free book. I've got a couple books that could help, that I wrote, that are specific for Arizona, specific for this situation. Give us a call, 480-750-7788. Love to put that in your hands, make it a little bit easier for you. When I first learned about how this whole thing worked, I mean, we didn't even really study probate in law school. It was more of, theoretical concepts. And when I first got out and learned, holy cow, there's this giant probate system. And what I'm going to talk about today is how it works as a business model in the legal industry. That there's a disincentive for us professionals to actually help you avoid it. It's like so many things, right? Doctors and most professionals, they make so much more money cleaning up the mess than they do helping you avoid it in the first place. And so, we've just got to realize that that is there, and there is not really a financial incentive to help you avoid probate. And what that means is what I've seen, and what I want to do with you guys today is I want to share with you a case study where this, which illustrates some of the most critical pieces I wouldn't want you to miss. I wouldn't want to be part of your plan because they will fail. I want to cover a specific list of things that I think are critical for every person who is a family warrior, who would bust through walls for their kids, for their spouse. And then we've got a couple good Q&A section that I want to go over. So if you have a question, if you have something you want to get answered for us on the show, send it in, radio@keystonelawfirm.com. My team will organize those and get them to me, and the best questions I'll answer right here on the show. And guess what? You won't get a bill for it. So just, send it in, radio@keystonelawfirm.com. Now, look, we've got a lot to cover. If you are in the midst of an elderly parent or a family member who has passed away and you need help, you have questions, the thing we do in my firm that's different than most any other firms out there is we are almost exclusively 100% flat fees. And we do that because this is all we do. We don't practice everything. We don't do divorce. We don't do, bankruptcy and criminal. We don't do everything. We just help people plan their estates, protect their assets, and we help their families carry out their wishes. That's it. That's it. It's that. And we do this all day long, every day. Been doing it for 14 years and help thousands of families around Arizona. I think so far, we're at about $800 or $900 million of clients' assets that have been protected for their families. And so when we get called in to help administer, sometimes things go well, but a lot of times it's a mess. And to date, none of our clients, we have a complete success rate. None of our clients have been dragged. None of our clients that we've planned for have been dragged through the mess. So if you're in that and you need help, give us a call, 480-750-7788. Or you can jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and request. I have a checklist for you today. You can get a free copy of my book, and love to just put that in your hands and help you out. And give us a call if you do need help, right? Give us a call, set up an appointment. Our first appointment is a really no pressure, just kind of low key, we call it a discovery hour. And it's really for you to be able to interview us and for us to also figure out what your best options are, and then just give those to you. You meet with our team and they help you go through it. 480-750-7788. After the break, we're going to jump in on this case study. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servet. I'm your host, your turning problem solver at law. We are talking about what happens when plans fail today. Our vacation plans have been just all thrown out the window. We tried 4 different times to take a trip with our kids this summer. I think we're finally going to sneak away to California and try to get some different air, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. What I want to share with you guys is a story of living through these things. I'm like, is this real? Did this just really happen? We don't think often that our plans that fail are going to have like dire consequences. My family's simple. It's just me, my wife. It's, what's going to happen? Our kids all get along. And that's most people we work with is who have families that get along, which is awesome. That's what I want, right? I want your families to get along. We don't think the consequences are going to be as dire if our plans fail because everybody gets along. We had I forget, he was in his 80s, who literally when his plan failed, it caused his death. He was alive when his plan failed. And this was an elderly man who did all the things right during life, right? He lived frugally. He loved his kids. He took care of them. He worked his butt off. He worked his tail off his whole life and, scrimped and saved and tucked money away. By all perspectives, he did the right things. And he retired, finally got to a point where he could retire. He figured, you know what? He wasn't married at the time, and I'm going to snowbird, but not between Arizona and Minnesota. He snowbirds between Arizona and all the beautiful tropical islands and Central America. That was his plan, which, holy cow, that's pretty awesome. And he found a really cool, community to do that with. As he got older, though, he was diagnosed with dementia, and his daughter, and as dementia goes, if you've had any experience with somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, you know that is a usually slowly declining disease. And the effects of that the symptoms show up slowly over time. And it's a very devastating disease. It's horrible. And that's what happened with him. At first, it wasn't a big deal. It was, here and there symptoms. And then they started to show up more and more and more and more. His daughter was named as his trustee, as his power of attorney, as his medical, healthcare agent. And she starts to help. She starts to help a little bit. She starts to help a little more, until finally got to a point where she literally had to ask dad to move into a assisted living facility where they could take care of him because he, it just wasn't safe. So he moves into assisted living. When you're in assisted living, there's different kinds of assisted living facilities and floors and units and homes, all these things. There's assisted living, kind of the base level where you need day-to-day help. There's memory care where you have some type of cognitive, disease like Alzheimer's or dementia. There's full nursing home care where you have some critical medical issue, like you're on a ventilator. There's different levels, right? Well, he was at that first level. And in that first level, if you've ever visited somebody in a group home or a assisted living facility, it's they can be really nice. It's pretty relaxed. They come and go. You can take people to lunch. They're mixing and mingling. They have activities. It's pretty. They can be set up to be very nice. Well, she's at work. She works here in town, and she's at work one day and gets a phone call from the police department. Police department says, "Ma'am, we have your father. We're down at the Circle K on the intersection of whatever. Can you please come get your dad?" And she's going, "What the heck why do you have my dad?" And she, tells her boss, "I gotta go. I'll be back. There's an emergency with my dad." She goes. She goes to get her dad. He's fine. She takes him back to the assisted living facility. And what she ends up finding out is that he had picked up the phone at the assisted living and had called a cab. This was, he didn't have his Uber button. He called a cab and said, "I'm going to the airport because I'm going to Central America. And can you come get me?" And, the cab company, sure, they schedule a driver, heads over. He walks out the front door, gets in the cab, and they drive away. And holy crap, a few minutes later, I don't know exactly what happened. My guess is the cab driver was like, "Whoa, this guy presents pretty well in the first few minutes, but he's definitely not going to the airport." If you're struggling with a family member who has dementia, if they are struggling with Alzheimer's, there are some very, very key things that you can do right now. Give us a call. I'd love to give you my book. It's a free, no holds barred. It's got tons of info in there about what you need to do to help prepare for the future. 480-750-7788. Love to give you one of those. What she found out was that in an assisted living facility, they're not allowed to lock him up. They're not allowed to tell him, "No, you can't leave." And when she went back, she chewed them out. She just ripped them out up and down and said, "What are you doing? My dad can't leave. He's not safe." And they said, I get it. Do you want to move him to the memory care floor?" And she said, "If that's what we have to do, absolutely." They said, "Okay, then let's have you fill out the paperwork." When they were going through all the paperwork, they asked for her medical power of attorney for her dad. And she showed it to them. He had a whole estate plan, a will, a trust, the durable, the general durable, the healthcare power of attorney. They looked at it, they reviewed it, and they said, "Wait a minute, this thing doesn't have mental health powers in it." And she just kind of shrugged her shoulder. "What do you mean?" That was added by Arizona law a few years, I think maybe about 6 years after he created all of those documents, and he never updated them. And so they said, you don't have the legal authority to place your dad in memory care. You don't have the legal authority to do it. He's already got Alzheimer's and dementia. He can't legally sign anything because it's not valid if you don't have the mental capacity. And so she's like, "Well, what the heck do I do?" They said, "The only thing you can do now is get a guardianship." And she said, "What's that?" And they said, "Well, we can't help you with that. Here's the name of a lawyer." They referred her to me, and we sat down, and I told her, "This means you have to sue your dad in order to get this authority to become his guardian." We literally had to file a lawsuit against her dad that she wasn't fighting with. He wasn't disagreeing. They weren't at odds with each other. She had to sue her dad. And that was the start of of 9 months of a nightmare that ended up with his death, ended up driving him to his grave. If you know anything about the Alzheimer's or dementia disease process, it is it is critical that you establish a healthy routine that they can rely on, that you don't, that you keep their stress level down. If there's any major stressful event, even if it's not a physical or medical event, if it's just a stressful event, that can send them into a very rapid decline. And with his guardianship case, what we're going to talk about next is how that lawsuit lasted for 9 months and ended with his death. We help families avoid that. You need a good plan that is kept up to date. If you want to create yours, or your parents need to create theirs, give us a call. I'd love to see if our team can help you, or at least give you your options. The first thing we do is called a discovery hour. In that hour, it's just a really simple, no pressure appointment where you get to describe what's going on with your family, what's going on with your loved ones, where we will ask you, the second thing we'll ask you is, what are your goals here? You don't want to work with a law firm that doesn't know your goals. You want to make sure that they know your goals, because if they don't, they're going to drag you through a whole giant mess of procedures that you don't even care about. So we'll spend some time learning your goals, and then that makes it so that we can break down your options. And my team, you'll meet with our client relationship manager, who can do all of that for you. And it's really a nice, comfortable, no pressure appointment. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, or you can jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. Today, we're talking about what happens when plans fail. And that sucks. All of our vacation plans have failed this summer. We're trying to recoup just a last minute one to California. The case study that we just talked about, it illustrates it was one of my first experiences with how bad a failed plan could be. We don't often think about a estate plan or a will or a trust failing while we're alive, but that's what this is. So what I want you to know, I've got 7 different things that I want to make sure you know about so that your plans don't fail, right? We are family warriors here. We would do anything to protect our family. So these are the 7 things that, as I was preparing, I'm like, bam, bam, bam. These are 7 things you need to know about to make sure your family is protected. Number 1, you need to know there are actually 2 probates. There are 2 probates. There's the one that happens after our death that we all have heard about. But there's also the one that happens while we're alive. That's the one. And honestly, in my experience, after doing this for hundreds of clients, helping them go through that mess, the one that happens while we're alive is way worse. I mean, infinitely worse. So that's the first thing. I want you to know there are 2 probates, a living probate and an after-death probate. The second thing I want you to know is that the lifetime probate, what it does, it actually makes you or your parent, whoever's the adult that's incapacitated, it makes them a ward of the state. Just like for kids, for minors, if they become whatever, if they have parents who die and they don't have guardians named, the kids become wards of the state. Same thing if we're an adult and we become incapacitated, we become a ward of the state. Oh my gosh. Did you know that? And that's what this probate process is while we're alive, while we're adults. So that's the second thing, is that lifetime probates make you a ward of the state. The third thing is that though the technical side after death isn't like complicated, we do it all the time, like with our eyes closed and one arm tied behind our back. It's not that the technical side of it is that hard. It's that what it does is it pits family members against each other. It just pits your kids, one kid against the other, or one kid against all others if you have, more kids. We had one case where it was super simple. It was, mom passed away, left a will, two kids equally. One of them was named as the executor, and he starts administering the estate. Well, it's just a complicated pain in the butt process. If you've ever had to do it, if you've ever been an executor, you know how much of a pain in the butt this is. If you've seen a sibling or someone act as executor, you know how many questions you end up with while that's happening, because it just seems like you're not getting all the information, right? Well, that's what happened. The one starts administering the estate, doing the job. It's formal. It takes time. There's paperwork. There's waiting games. It's a mess. And the other one is like, what's going on? Why is this taking so long? What are you doing? You're not giving me all the information. It just pits family members against each other. That's the third thing. Now, I don't want you to have that for your family. If you are someone who would bust through walls for your family, for your kids, for your spouse, for your loved ones, then give us a call, 480-750-7788. This is what we do. We help you protect your family from this. We take this seriously. And I'm going to describe for you a little bit how we do that in some detail. But let me get these 7 things out. The fourth thing that I don't know if you know this was something I didn't know until law school, is that a will, if that's all you have, a will must go through probate. It has to go through that court process, because that's just how the laws work. And somebody's going to have to figure that out. Somebody's going to have to do it. And like I said, that process, it pits family members against each other. It just isn't a family-friendly process. The fifth thing, number 5, we start to get into some of the solutions here, is a living trust basically takes the place of the will. It's like the new will. So if you're thinking about, protecting your family, you want to make it simple for them, you want to make it easy, then immediately take your mind to a living trust. Okay, that's number 5. Number 6 is that those living trusts, they are no good unless they are funded with all of your assets. This is the part where most places fail to help their clients. When you get your trusts done, you have to go to all your bank accounts, and I mean all of them, to your life insurance, to the vehicle title, the house deed, your investments, your IRAs, your annuities, your stocks, bonds, mutual funds, your CDs, whatever, all of that stuff. It's got to be re-registered into the name of your trust, either as owner or as beneficiary. And that's a pain in the butt. Right? Trust me, if you haven't done it, if you set up a trust and you haven't done that, you haven't done anything. Your family is not protected. Your family's headed for mess. So that's number 6. Number 7, and this is a big one where I'm going to spend most of our time, is that your trust, you get the trust done, you get everything funded into it, it becomes less and less relevant as every day goes by. I'm sorry to break this to you. There's some free advice, right? It just does. It becomes less and less relevant every single day that goes by. It's just like so many other things in life where, your financial plan, right? You don't create a financial plan, or a retirement plan and say, there, I'm done. I can now go live my life for the next, for the rest of my life. My financial plan is done. You don't go to the gym once and say, there, I went to the gym and now I'm healthy and I'm good. You don't go to the doctor and do your physical once. You don't buy your car and then say, I never need to maintain this thing. That's not how it works. And if you've been led to believe that that's how it works, you are like most people out there. Unfortunately, my industry, it has been really, really bad about making sure families know that this is never done. This is something you've got to commit to for the rest of your life. Because you're not setting this stuff up the day before we die. That's not how it works. You set it up thinking, I've got another, 20, 30, 50 years left. Yeah, most likely we all do, right? But if that's true, life is going to change a little bit between now and then. And so you've got to get on a pattern. Now, if you're thinking, this sounds like too much of a pain in the butt, this sounds super complicated. Oh my gosh, you lawyers make stuff so complicated. Just remember back to the original thing that I told you, that there's a incentive to there's a financial incentive to let you end up in a giant mess. The probate case that I was telling you about with that gal and her dad, where he ended up going into a lawsuit just so she could make a decision to put him into a memory care unit. She had to sue him in the probate court and become his guardian. That lawsuit, it cost, you ready? It cost him over $50,000 in legal fees. But because it was such a stressful event, he didn't do this because it was stressful. He made some decisions during that case because he had dementia. And the court has to let him speak and hear what he says. And the court actually appoints an independent attorney for him to help fight for what he says he wants. Well, he went to the court and he said, I don't want to be locked up. I love my daughter, but I don't want to be locked up. And the court said, well, we will let you fight for that. Hired an attorney for him, let him fight for that. It ended up with the court actually saying, you know what? You've got this long lost sister in Florida. And she says she'll take care of you. Let's pack you up and ship you to Florida. He ended up in the ER. He ended up nearly dying. They ended up sending him back saying, wow, that's too much trouble. We can't take care of somebody with that much need. And by the time he got back, he just quickly slipped down in a massive, rapid decline and died. And before he went through all of that, he was an otherwise pretty healthy, spunky guy. And it literally ended up with his death. So look, if you want to avoid that for your family, schedule a discovery hour. Our team is really just a friendly group of people, and we'd love to figure out how we could help, whether it's just give you a copy of my free book, Pack Your Parachute, whether maybe you're in one of these messes right now and you want a copy of my other book, which tells you how to go through probate. Or if you just want some direct, straight answers for you one-on-one in the discovery hour, that's what you'll get. Give us a call, 480-750-7788. You can also schedule that online at radio.keystonelawfirm.com or on Facebook. Look, if you are on Facebook, give us a comment, shoot us a message. We'd love to answer your questions and point you in the right direction and see how we could help. When we get back from the break, what we're going to jump into is a couple questions from the audience, and make sure you guys walk away with those answers. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. This has been kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe you're not in the frame of mind. It's hard sometimes to commit to learning about this stuff just because it's hard. I get it. These are kind of morbid discussions sometimes, and it's just easier to avoid and ignore. But while we're going through this pandemic, we just have some extra time. And so I really commend you for listening and learning. This stuff is hard. You're never going to learn everything there is to know. It has taken me, I don't know how many years of, 3 years of law school, 15 years of practice to learn what I've learned, and after helping thousands of families. And still sometimes I'm like, wow, we still don't know everything. But good for you for sticking through and trying to learn something to take care of your family. I hope this is helpful. We've got 2 good questions today to cover. The first one is, what is the difference between a revocable and a irrevocable trust? So these are 2 different things. Irrevocable and revocable. Some people say irrevocable and revocable. I don't know what's right. Your choice. What's the difference? The main really and only difference is one of them you can't ever make changes to again, and the other one you can make as many changes to as you want. An irrevocable trust, once you put that together, it's set in stone. The day you sign it, bam, you can't change it. That's a serious deal. The other kind, the revocable trust kind, you sign it, it's valid, and you can make a change immediately. You can make a change later. You can make a change whenever you want. The revocable kind is the kind most people start with as their foundation of their plan for their family. If you've got kids, if you've got young kids, if you've got old kids, if you've got parents who are elderly, the foundation of every single estate plan is a living trust. Now, my experience, it's no harder to set up a living trust than it is to set up a will, and a trust just does a much better job of keeping your family out of that giant mess that we talked about. It just does. But remember, it's got to be funded. You got to have all your stuff in it. And whether you do a will or a trust, doesn't matter what you do, you've got to be committed to keeping it up to date. Can you imagine buying a car and never maintaining it? It would, I mean, it would last you for a while, but then eventually the engine's going to blow. And the same thing happens with us and our plans. It has to be maintained. So now, why would you use a irrevocable trust? It's very intentional. You're never going to get into one accidentally. So you use a revocable trust as your foundation of everything, and you might add to it a irrevocable trust. And there are hundreds of reasons why you might use one. Some of the most common ones are to protect your assets from nursing homes, from Medicaid, and you can do that with the right kinds of strategies. Some people will do that, an irrevocable trust, to protect their assets from estate taxes. Some people will do that to create a lifetime gift to their kids, but it stays in trust, and you want to kind of wrap it around with some asset protection. And there's an infinite number more reasons why you might do an irrevocable trust. If you're looking to set up any kind of trust, that's what we do. We set up almost any kind of trust that's out there, and we'd love to help you. If you like to interview us and see if we're the right firm for you, give us a call, 750-7788, 480-750-7788, or you can just jump on radio.keystonelawfirm.com. There's a schedule now button. You just click on that, find a time that works, and my team would love to meet with you. Today, we're also giving away a free copy of my book, Pack Your Parachute, that can help you learn way more about this that I have time to go into today. So get on radio.keystonelawfirm.com and request that. Happy to send that to you. Our second question for today is more of just a confusion, I think, because different states do things differently, and they do some of the same things differently. Anyway, it's what is the difference between an executor, a personal representative, a power of attorney, a trustee, a successor trustee, a fiduciary? All these titles and names of things, right? What is all of that? It's just confusing. So I'll just make it as simple for you because this is how I understand it. This is how I make sense of it myself. There's two categories of jobs when it comes to, planning your affairs. There's all the money and financial and property and assets and investments and all of that. There's that job. And then there's the job of all the medical stuff, all the medical decisions, personal affairs, what doctor you go to, what family can visit, where you're going to live, all of those things, right? Making all those decisions. Those are the two categories of decisions that you need to make. Who's going to do that for you? All these titles, the ones that that this question pertains to: executor, power of attorney, trustee, successor trustee, personal representative, those are all in the money category. Those are all the money, property, assets, investments category. So all of those relate to somebody who's helping you take care of your money, pay your bills, liquidate property, consolidate it, distribute it to your heirs and your beneficiaries. Those are all the money titles. Now, we generally recommend that you put one person in that role at a time. Don't put two people. I've never seen that make it easier. I've never seen that make it better. especially if you're in a blended family situation, I do not recommend that you try to put one child from each side of the family. Holy moly, talk about setting them up for a disaster. The lawyers will love that because they will make payday. So, all of those are the financial, money related jobs. The medical related jobs are your healthcare agent. There's only that one. The other part of that, though, is your HIPAA designation, right? Who is allowed to call the hospital and say, where's mom or dad? What room are they in? And you might have more people on that list than you do the list of who can make a decision for you. It might just be one, right? So those are all the medical ones. So that's all we have for today. Look, one of the things that was critical for me when I created Keystone Law Firm is that we actually do what we say we're going to do. That's one of our number one values. And we do that by creating your plan in a way that we actually are the only firm in Arizona that can give you a guarantee. We have something called our 10X no probate guarantee. And I invite you to read that. I invite you to ask us ask for a copy of it. Just jump on radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Send us an email, radio@keystonelawfirm.com. We're the only firm that actually says you're going to avoid probate. It's not that hard to do, but it requires that we set up an annual checkup. And we have hundreds and hundreds of clients who go through this every year to make sure that their family is protected. You can't just set this thing up once and forget it. It's a quick 31-point checklist that we go through every year. We rattle it off. We make it very simple, and you just kind of rapid fire answers, yes, no, back. And if something needs to be changed, we help you do it. It's very simple. We make this very simple for you. It doesn't have to be a big, complicated project. And we make sure it's not that for our clients. If you're interested in learning more about how we could do that for you, so you can interview us, see if we're the right firm to help, or even what you need, right? Then give us a call, 480-750-7788. You're going to ask for a discovery hour. That is your first appointment with us. It's really no pressure, comfortable environment. We're doing lots of those virtually right now by video and phone calls to make it safe for everyone. And so you can figure out what you need. And there's really lots of options, but you can whittle them down in that appointment to figure out just what's relevant for you. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, or go to our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com.